we going to be a 21st century superpower when we're making some dumb, stupid moves right now?
You can have reform with respect to that.
Should we have them?
But some of these people don't know when it's time to go.
We've got another Bill Maher panel to hop into, this time with Republican Congressman Mike Lawler and DNC Vice Chair David Hogg. So if you can, leave us a like on the video. It helps boost us in the algorithm. We really appreciate it, and it's free. And we'll get right into the discussion.
A lot of the people that are being put in these detention centers, they're run by private prisons. Do you think that private prisons are something that we should have in this country?
Good question.
You know, like, I don't think that we should be having a system that is incentivized to keep people there. Of course, we need to make sure we're keeping everybody safe, but I don't want to have a system where we literally have a prison industrial complex that is incentivizing keeping people incarcerated. And that costs us
There's no question you can have reform with respect to that.
Should we have them?
But I don't have a problem with a public-private partnership in terms of actually dealing with the operations of a prison. But the issue to me is actually enforcing the law. If you look at a state like New York, where the recidivism rate on people who are being arrested for felonies and then being released under cashless bail, it is over 50%.
Private prisons are hands down the most immoral part of our already broken justice system. It allows someone to profit off holding someone in a cell. That is wild, but they also flat out just have higher rates of inmates who reoffend once released. They have more violence take place in the prisons themselves and overall just less safety. Also, no cash bail is actually a proven practice. Chris Christie, of all people, did this in New Jersey in 2017, and since the rate of crime has decreased in New Jersey, court appearance rates have increased, the jail population decreased, and taxpayers saved tens of millions of dollars. There's not much statistical evidence to support the more punitive measures rather than rehabilitative ones in our prison systems. That is writ large, and no cash bail just shows another one of those methods.
We need a comprehensive approach to crime, immigration. How are we going to grow a 21st century economy? How are we going to advance science? And how are we going to be a 21st century superpower when we're making some dumb, stupid moves right now? And Congress, as you said earlier, Congress cannot see it as Article I powers. You must provide the checks and balances. And we can't just detain people and open up new prisons without due process and the rule of law. America has standards and values, and we have somehow forgotten that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And to me, those standards and values are what make the American experiment worth protecting more than anything else. Not the fact that we prioritize money over everything else and force people to work 60 hours a week so we make a lot more money. But she is spot on across the board in what she's saying. We need comprehensive approaches that will constantly be moving America forward. That will never happen when Republicans are just like, build a wall about immigration and more tariffs on economics, still foolishly pushing the harsh on crime position that has been proven less effective in every metric for some aesthetic reason. They're choosing to cling on to this. Why don't we have a high-speed public national rail? Why don't we have a system that incentivizes legal immigration with the pathway to citizenship to further add to our tax base? Because only one party wants solutions. That's why. The other just wants talking points.
Some of these people don't know when it's time to go.
They don't.
Chuck Schumer has been in elected office for 50 years. 1974, he was first elected. 50 years. AOC will absolutely kick his ass in a primary. She is the leader of the Democratic Party in this moment, and will continue to be, I think, the biggest driver of where the party goes from a governmental policy standpoint. And that drives many of my colleagues crazy. But the fact is, she has tapped into the base of support within the Democratic Party. And you see the juxtaposition between her and Chuck Schumer. I'm writing a strongly worded letter. Oh, sit the fuck down, Chuck. It's time.
Right. That's why you won.
Yeah.
In that district that you, that's why you won.
Purple as they come.
Well, right. Because the people, they didn't want to vote for Donald Trump, but they're not out there on the far left either.
No.
Right?
They want balance. They want common sense. They want people who are serious about getting the job done. For my district, my biggest issue, lifting the cap on salt and providing real tax relief to people. protecting critical services like Medicaid. And we're going through this debate, and I'm fighting with leadership, and I'm fighting with the administration to make sure.
I hate to say this about any Republican, but I do agree with him here. Chuck Schumer absolutely should step down, and if he doesn't, AOC could easily primary him. It wouldn't even be a competition, and she would take leadership in the Senate in doing so, which she should, because it's ever so clear that Schumer is just not equipped for this fight in any way, shape, or form in the way that we need when looking to leadership in a time like this. And AOC has the policy chops, the politics, the communication ability. We just have to hope that in the interim, there's enough Republicans like Mike Lawler is presenting himself to be in this interview. And, you know, obviously, like Mike Lawler actually stands up and true to what he says and doesn't just fold when the time comes, that block these horrendous cuts to Medicaid, medical research, the Department of Education, green energy, and more things the middle class relies on every single day.